There have been many different kinds of kill streaks throughout COD history, but some of the strongest ones have been ones that fly in over your head and rain destruction down on the battlefield. What is up, everybody? Jimmy or Chaos, and every once in a while I get a little extra excited about a COD history topic, and today is that day. Today we're going to be checking out what I think are 20 of the best aircraft kill streaks in COD history. These are those streaks that were based around staying up high, taking enemies out from above. So you guys let me know in the comments what you think the best aerial streak in COD history is. Before we get started, guys, we launched a Chaos Shorts channel, and it is specifically for gaming clips. Funny, epic, crazy, whatever it is, we're putting them up over there. So there's two links. One, go subscribe to Chaos Shorts. Two, go submit your clips. It could end up being showcased on that channel, on my main channel, on Facebook, on Twitter, everywhere across the Chaos Network. Now, let's start off with a super obvious one. At number 20, the helicopter in COD 4. This was one of the first kill streaks in COD history. Still one of the most cost-effective to this day. It cost you 7 kills, would easily get you 5 to 10 in return for calling it in. The COD 4 helicopter had a set path it would follow while roaming around the battlefield, shooting any enemy player that it saw. It also had a very aggressive AI and a massive health pool that was super difficult to drain since there were no lock-on launchers in that game. The only way to take down the helicopter in COD 4 was to unload dozens and dozens of bullets on it, which would just paint a giant target on your back and often lead to the helicopter just blowing you away before you could take it down. This laid the foundation for every single aerial streak after it. At number 19, the gunship in Black Ops Cold War. I may get some heat for putting it this far down at number 19, but first of all, I'll remind you guys, this is number 19 out of all the aerial streaks in COD history. There's a lot of them, so that's good. And second of all, the Black Ops Cold War score streak system meant it wasn't actually as impressive to get the gunship as it was in other games. That being said, it was nuts. The Black Ops Cold War gunship was basically just the AC-130 from Modern Warfare 2, but not quite as cool. You could easily get a dozen kills in return for calling it in unless there were people on the other team running SAM turrets. You probably weren't going to get shot down very quickly, so you could get a ton of mileage out of this one. At number 18, the attack chopper in Black Ops 4. Pretty standard looking at it. Didn't seem like anything too crazy when we first booted up the game, but the reason it's on the list today is because it was really strong for some reason. Despite just being a normal attack chopper, the BO4 version had a ton of health, and it was really aggressive compared to other AI-controlled streaks throughout the franchise. It could easily get you 8 to 10 kills on smaller maps, and if nobody on the other team was running a rocket launcher, which hardly anybody was in this game, you would get a ton out of it. And since we're talking about Black Ops 4, segue at number 17. The Sniper's Nest in Black Ops 4. Another chopper score streak in BO4, but instead of roaming around the battlefield with a machine gun, it would roam around the battlefield with a team of snipers that would instantly knock out enemy players with a single shot to the head. So not only did it have a lot of health like the standard attack chopper we talked about, and not only was it super aggressive, it was also completely unavoidable because it would never get any hit markers. It was just insta-kill, insta-kill. Whoever it saw, insta-kill. It was an insanely strong streak. At number 16, the Wraith in Black Ops 3. This is one of my favorite AI-controlled streaks in COD history. Wasn't difficult to earn. I think it cost you 1,100 points. Would hover around the map, unload its machine gun on any enemy player it saw, killed them pretty quickly, and gave you a nice 25-point boost every time it finished somebody off. It would also activate an active camouflage every few seconds, which made it harder to see if you were on the enemy team. It would take 3 entire rockets to shoot down, which that takes some time. It's definitely one of the best aerial streaks in COD history. It's one of my favorites of the jetpack era. At number 15, the Lodestar in Black Ops 2. This is one of my favorite aerial streaks in Black Ops history complete. The Lodestar was a very expensive drone. Would circle around the map with a thermal sight. Would let you fire missiles down at wherever you were pointing basically, and you had unlimited ammo for an entire 45-second duration. You could easily clean up the enemy team 2 to 3 times over before the timer ran out, or you got shot down, and the sound of the rockets coming out of the barrel, it was pretty good. Take a listen to this real quick.
You have multiple enemies. Rival.
At number 14, the VTOL jet in Modern Warfare the reboot. It was pretty sweet. It was one of my favorite streaks in the game to watch, at least. You'd mark a spot on your map. Fighter jet would strafe the area before shooting straight up into the sky, looping around, and then hovering over the spot you marked and guarding it from enemy players with a machine gun. It was cool. It was cool for locking down hardpoint hills, domination flags, had a pretty solid health pool, so it rarely got shot down before you got 5 to 10 kills. Very straightforward, but super effective streak. At number 13, the Reaper in Modern Warfare 3 2011. This is one of the most underrated streaks in COD history. Basically the little brother of the AC-130. It was a UAV drone that would circle around the map, equipped with a bunch of Predator missiles. You could manually guide down to the map. You could create massive explosions, clean out the area of enemy players. Didn't have a lot of health, but the amount of damage you could inflict, it was crazy. It was overshadowed by the AC-130 for obvious reasons, but this thing was nasty. At number 12, the fighter pilot in COD World War II. Now, I remember when we first saw this streak in the trailer for COD World War II, and we thought there might actually be a fully drivable plane in multiplayer. Obviously, we ended up being wrong, but the fighter pilot streak is still pretty cool. It's a cool part of the game, and it's pretty cost effective as well. It would only cost you 625 points, and once you called it in, you would take control of a fighter pilot strafing the battlefield, manually unloading on the enemy players below. It was easy to get 2 to 4 kills out of each one of these, and it also gave you a nice real-time look at where all the enemy players were. It was a bonus. At number 11, the VTOL warship in Black Ops 2. Insanely expensive, insanely strong. Would take 3 rockets to shoot down, which basically made it unkillable in a game like Black Ops 2. The VTOL was one of the most devastating things ever put into a Black Ops game. Basically a more futuristic version of the AC-130, which made it fit in with the near future setting of Black Ops 2, even though Black Ops 2 officially takes place in the year 2025, so it's not really a futuristic game anymore. It's kind of weird to think about, but yeah. I mean, do you think we'll get a VTOL in Black Ops 7? You know we will. Now let's get into the top 10. At number 10, the ball turret gunner in COD World War II. I think this is one of the coolest streaks in COD World War II and one of the most expensive. Once you called it in, you'd mainly take control of a turret and a fighter jet that circled the map similar to the Black Ops chopper gunner, but I need you to remember, this was COD World War II. There was no lock-on rocket launchers. There was no SAM turrets. There were no EMPs, which made the ball turret gunner virtually impossible to counter. You just flying around the map, shred through the enemy team over and over again, and there was nothing they could do about it unless they decided to stand in a place with an LMG and try to shoot you down the old-fashioned way, which usually didn't work. And did I mention the sound effects on this thing were awesome? They were. At number 9, the gunship in Black Ops 4. Now, this was the Black Ops 4 equivalent of the AC-130. Functioned basically the same as every other AC-130 in COD history, but it gets a spot in the top 10 because of how tough it was to counter, because of the simple fact nobody was running lock-on rocket launchers in the game. I mean, there was only one rocket launcher in Black Ops 4, and even if you were running it, you rarely got it loaded and reloaded enough times to actually shoot the gunship down during its duration. So the driver would rack up 20 to 25 kills with zero effort and bring the entire match to a standstill for about a minute and a half. At number 8, the Hunter Killer in Black Ops 2. This may be cheating, since it's a little drone as opposed to being a full-fledged plane or helicopter, but it's an aerial streak, and I think it's one of the best in COD history when it comes to getting a lot of bang for your buck. Super cheap, earn with a handful of kills, toss in the air, forget about it, patrol the battlefield, eventually dive bomb onto an enemy player. Hopefully you got lucky and got a double kill or a triple kill, multi-kill, and you would do it again, over and over and over. At number 7, the Swarm in Black Ops 2. What's better than 100 killer? How about a million of them? This is one of the hardest streaks in COD history to earn, but it was also one of the most rewarding. Spawn an entire army of Hunter Killer drones to fly over the battlefield, completely destroy your enemy's speakers as they dove down, blew up one after another, easily getting you 15 to 20 kills in the process. I think the Swarm had to be one of the most rage-inducing streaks in COD history. I don't think I've ever seen a single instance where a Swarm was called and nobody left the match. There was always at least one rage quit when the announcer called out enemy Swarm. More than likely, the entire team would back out. At number 6, Harriers in Modern Warfare 2 2009. Please take me back. When it comes to set it and forget it type streaks, it's the best. These babies would cost you 7 kills, 6 with hardline, and they were a hybrid of airstrike and AI-controlled Overwatch. Mark a spot on the map, that area would get hit with a bunch of bombs, then a fighter jet would hover over that location, unload its machine gun on anybody who got too close to the area you marked. For 7 kills, the Harriers would easily get you another 7 in return, if not more. And they were an amazing stepping stone or ladder to your nuke in Modern Warfare 2. Absolutely one of the best aircraft streaks in COD history. Now we arrive at the top 5. This is where it gets crazy. The Chopper Gunner in Modern Warfare 2 2009. It's one of the most iconic streaks from the classic game. and it would cost you 11 kills, 10 with hardline. Basically turn the match into an on-rail shooting gallery for about a minute, which would allow you to rack up, I would say, at least a dozen. You would manually control the gunner in a helicopter as it flew around the battlefield on its own. Your turret was actually explosive, which allowed you to get ridiculous sprees and kill enemy players from around corners and behind cover. The splash damage was real. Some Modern Warfare 2 players still insist this was the best streak in the game, although I'm going to disagree with that. There's one other streak that we'll talk about, but the Modern Warfare 2 chopper gunner, iconic. At number 4, the gunship in Black Ops. Heavily slept on, if you ask me, because of a couple other high-tier streaks in the game that people would equip instead. But if you ever used this back in the day, man, I used it all. I'm trying to think of my stepping stone. I think it was like Napalm to VSAT or Blackbird, whatever it was back then. Blackbird to gunship. But then again, I would also go dogs. I mean, the Black Ops 1 gunship was basically the Modern Warfare 2 chopper gunner, but you could fly it around the entire map. You could chase down enemy spawn points and keep them from escaping your wrath, which made you like an unstoppable monster on the battlefield. For 11 kills, the gunship was OP. You could easily get a dozen kills every time. You may have forgotten about it due to the other high-tier streaks, which we'll talk about here in a minute, but this one was crazy. At number 3, the Mothership in Black Ops 3. Now, when it comes to streaks that caused rage quits, the Mothership has to be the most notorious. This was the most expensive streak in Black Ops 3. I think it's also the single biggest streak in COD history in terms of sheer size. The Mothership would take up half the sky when it was called in, and everybody on the user's team could join in the fun by manually controlling one of the turrets. It was a gigantic gunship that was basically impossible to shoot down because of the massive health bar, and it would almost instantly kill anybody you got a hit on. So yeah, it was insanely hard to earn, but if you managed to call it in, you would not only get at least 20 kills in return, you would also provoke at least one person on the enemy team to disconnect. The AC-130 in Modern Warfare 2, the original. One of the, if not the most iconic streak in COD history. Classic AC-130, essential part of any player's nuke setup, had some of the most recognizable sound effects in any video game. Came loaded with a machine gun, a cannon, and a smaller bombardment, all of which you could swap between while the others were reloading, which would allow you to rain consistent fire down on the team. And of course, all those kills stacked toward the nuke, which just made it even better. It's one of the most nostalgic things in the entire franchise. Had to put it at number 2. Heck, some of you probably would have it number 1, but I'm going with a hot take today. At number 1, the best aircraft kill streak, in my opinion, is the chopper gunner in Black Ops. It was not only an insanely powerful and devastating streak, but it was also way too cheap for the amount of damage you could inflict, which is the main reason why it gets the number 1 spot. It would cost you 9 kills, 8 with hardline. You could easily get 15 to 20 in return. Bring the match to a complete standstill until you were finished blowing the enemy team up over and over again, because here's a little reminder, there was no spawn protection in the original Black Ops, so there was literally nothing you could do about a chopper gunner pilot who knew where the spawns were. It's definitely the best aerial streak in COD history, if you ask me, and even though some of you probably would have put the AC-130 here, I think the chopper gunner gets the edge just due to the fact that you could get it in 8 kills. That was way, way too cheap. Slide the door back and go. There you have it. That's my pick for the top 20 best aircraft kill streak. Let me know the one that didn't make the list. I'll see you soon.